Okay, let's talk about meetings. Okay, I've been in lots of them. I'm sure most of you have as well. The issue I have with meetings is related to unproductive meetings and the lack of action that organizations take related to them. A lot of people complain about them, but I don't see anyone ever doing anything about it. Okay, so I'm going to share some of my thoughts and tips on meetings, and we'll see what resonates. Okay, so what are the two biggest issues I have with unproductive meetings? Well, first and foremost, it's bad for morale. No one wants to sit in an unproductive meeting. Secondly, it's bad for the bottom line. Most companies, if you talk to them and you ask them, what's your biggest expense? Okay, most of them are going to say it's their people costs. Okay, so if your people costs are your biggest expense, you're really going to want to pay attention to where people spend their time. Okay, if people are spending their time in unproductive meetings, it's probably not a good thing. Okay, so how do I think about a meeting? Okay, well, I think about it from a return on investment perspective, or ROI. Okay, so I'm going to look at a meeting and I'm going to say, well, what's the cost? And you can kind of back of the envelope figure that out, a rough estimate. And then you can say, well, what's the value? Okay, and sometimes there's tangible and a lot of times it's intangible value, but you can kind of come up with a rough idea of whether or not you think a meeting is valuable or a good use of your time. Okay, you can evaluate it and say, is it positive ROI or negative ROI? And for the meetings that fall into negative ROI, do I actually need them? Why am I having them, right? And sometimes you do need them because that face-to-face interaction, it helps build relationships, it helps build trust, okay? And there might not be some big impact that comes out of it, but that might be okay. All right, it's really the meetings where you just dread going to and nothing comes out of them that you want to really kind of avoid, okay? Or identify and then avoid. Okay, so where to start? Okay, well, I'd start with the recurring meetings that you have and say, okay, I have X number of recurring meetings and I'm going to bucket them into 3 different groups. One group is the meetings that have positive ROI, they're great meetings, I don't know what I would do without them. Okay, those are good ones. Then there's the ones that you're unsure of where sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, I don't know. Okay, put some meetings in that bucket. And then finally the bucket of little to no value. I hate this meeting, I don't even know why I go to it. Okay, and for the meetings in the last bucket I just explained, have a meeting with the group or talk to the group and suggest maybe canceling the meeting altogether. Okay, and then for the other 2 groups, meet with the group or talk to the people in the meetings and say, why don't we cut the timing in half? Okay, so if it's 60 minutes, let's make it 30 minutes. And if it's 30 minutes, let's make it 15 minutes. I think you'd be surprised with what you can accomplish in a shorter time period. Okay, if you can condense it, sometimes it moves quicker. It's just a better use of people's time. So that's where I would start. And then, so for the meetings that you end up keeping, and then any ad hoc meetings that are coming up, introduce some productivity tips, okay? Starting with, what is the purpose of the meeting? Get clarity. What's the intention of this meeting, okay? First and foremost, you need that. If you don't know what that is, you probably shouldn't be scheduling the meeting at all. Once you get clarity, state the objectives and set expectations well ahead of the meeting, okay? So I expect everyone to come on time. I expect everyone to review these 6 reports and these 5 documents because we're making decisions on X, Y, and Z, okay? Give people enough time to digest those materials, if there are materials that need to be reviewed in advance. Remind them about it up to the date of the meeting. If it's a big meeting, you want a big outcome, okay? It's worth it, the upfront time, okay? Only invite essential people, okay? Once you start getting outside of a handful of people, things can get ugly, okay? So keep it to just the essential people. No phones and no laptops, just don't even bring them in, okay? You don't need distractions. Those are distractions, okay? I don't care how busy you are. Give your full attention to the meeting and you will get good results. Stick to the agenda, okay? So there's always going to be someone in the meeting that wants to dominate it and take it in different directions and go down rabbit holes. Everyone needs to hold each other accountable in the room, okay? It's up to everyone to do this. Bring it back, okay? Bring it back to the agenda or the stated objectives and purpose of the meeting. Don't go off topic, okay? Because you only have a certain amount of time and you want to make sure there's some good outcome. Time it to the second. No one likes ending a meeting mid-conversation, okay? And you need to have enough time at the end to kind of feedback all the action items. What are the next steps? Who's responsible for what? What's the time frame look like? Okay? So those are some of my thoughts and tips on meetings and how to make them a little bit more productive. I encourage you to give some of them a try and see what happens. I hope you found this useful. I look forward to your feedback and comments, and I hope to speak to you again soon. Thank you.